Sometimes people ask me, why the heck would anyone need a gun capable of firing 30 rounds? And to them I say, you know what? You're right. That's not nearly enough. And then I bring out one of these. Check it out. This is gonna be fun. Hey, this is Kirsten Weiss, and today I am very excited to share with you the double barrel snake rifle from Gilboa, a double barrel AR15. Now, I've been waiting for 4 years to share this with you, and I've kept my mouth shut. But today I'm gonna spill the beans, and I'm elated to have you here with me. So, we are sure gonna have a good time. In this episode, we're going to talk about the gun, the twists and turns of what makes this unique, because there's not any other gun like this on the market right now. And also, what are the uses of this gun? Because I'm sure that you all have the same question I do. What's the practicality of this? Is it just fun? Or does it actually have real world use? So we're going to cover both those things. But for now, let's have some fun. Yeah, that really, yeah, that'll work. Sticky mess. This one's my favorite though. Check it out. Ooh. Split it completely apart. Amos Golan and the team at Gilboa, or Silver Shadow, made this platform. This is an Israeli platform, and they actually made another very unique device called the corner shot, and I've done a video on that, but they're the same makers of the corner shot system, which allows you to shoot around corners. If you want to watch that video, check out the description and also links in this video. But this is their newest baby. Now, to me, I think this is a supervillain gun. I expect to see it in some James Bond flick, maybe in the hands of a villain or a villainess, surrounded by henchmen armed to the teeth with these. But I sure hope it makes it past Hollywood, because this is a very interesting design, and it has more uses than you might think. One of the nice things about this gun is it's compatible with standard AR-15 parts. So you can interchange different parts and make it your own. The other thing is, if you're already comfortable with AR-15 platforms, you got a leg up, although there is going to be a learning curve because this is a little bit different. The question that a lot of people are probably thinking to themselves is this all one unit or is it two separate units? And the answer is that it is two separate operating units. They are independently operated on each side. Each trigger operates independently. So 2 buffer tubes, 2 BCGs, 2 barrels, 2 triggers, 2 magazines, 1 charging handle, that's interesting, it charges both sides, 1 rail system in stock, and a partridge in a pear tree. Each side operates independently, but the charging handle charges both sides and it also clears both sides. So that's an advantage and a disadvantage. The disadvantage is that when you have a malfunction, for example, I had a whole bunch of failures to extract with my first upper. It wasn't good, the right side just continuously failed to extract, and you can see that here. It happened consistently, and it was just 1 upper on the right. I tested 2 other uppers and they were just fine. So this is definitely a failure of that upper. Gilboa immediately sent me a replacement and I didn't have any issues with the other ones, but that one was definitely worth noting. When that fails to extract, it still loads another round into the back and jams that bullet tip into the back of the other bullet. It's just not a good thing. And so when you want to go clear that, you run into a problem because the other side clears as well and you lose a round. But here's where it is an advantage, because the other side still operates even if this side has a malfunction, so you can keep shooting. So if this side fails, the other side will keep functioning, so you could still have a functioning gun and shoot the other side out and then clear your gun. You have that option, so that's a strength. But if you want to have both sides operating at the same time, it's not so great. You will lose rounds. So this is a semi-automatic 223 and it is gas operated, gas impingement, but it is also 11 pounds. Yes, just about 11 pounds with both magazines empty. With both magazines full, it's pretty beefy. Did I do a double mag dump? Yes, I did. Was it pretty? Was it fun? Heck yeah, it was fun. Okay, are you ready for a 60 round mag dump? Because I am. Here we go. I can smell the heat of those barrels. Woo! Awesome. That'll wake you up in the morning, boys. Wow, well, that is definitely an experience shooting a double barrel AR15, double the recoil, double the magazines, much heavier, especially with fully loaded magazines, but certainly double the trouble and double the fun. I need to go to the gym more. That's what I learned. This is definitely heavier than standard AR15s by a lot. But you can imagine it has double the parts as well. Shooting this gun is unique. Besides the 2 barrels, it has double the recoil, and I got a nice little strawberry on my shoulder. It doesn't really hurt. It was totally worth it. But it is a different feeling, especially because you have to shoot both triggers at the same time, and because they operate independently, it is quite the skill set to learn. They are not fused. So in order to fire them at the same time, you have to pull your trigger at the same time. If you shoot one a little bit before the other, you're going to have an uneven recoil. So you have to hit those triggers simultaneously. And when I say hit, it is kind of like that. Maybe if I worked with it for thousands and thousands of rounds, I would get a little bit more used to it, but there's not really a finesse that I noticed, especially because guess what? I have to use my middle finger. And I'm not going to show you just my middle finger because that's not nice. But I have to use my middle finger to shoot this gun because I have small hands. So to get a proper grip on the rifle and also hit both triggers simultaneously without wrenching my wrist, I can't use my trigger finger. I have to use my middle finger because it gives me just a little bit more length. And so if you have smaller hands, you're probably going to have that same problem. I'd love for the triggers to be a little bit closer, but I'm not sure that it's physically possible. But that's something I'd like to see if it is. But either way, I shoot with my middle finger with this gun, and it's definitely an interesting feeling. You feel a sense of accomplishment when you do. You really do. But what I noticed is this gun shoots in a pattern even when you hit both triggers at the same time. The pattern varies. And the reason for this, I think, is twofold. One, it might just naturally have some variation. When I shot the double barrel 1911, which I also have a video on, it had 2 fused triggers. So those triggers were engaging at the very same time exactly, and yet there was still some variation. So you might just have some natural variation depending on a few different factors, the kinds of barrels used, the kinds of ammunition, all sorts of things. The other thing though is user error. And let's be honest, it's very hard to hit these triggers at the same time. So even just the slightest boom boom is going to open up your groups a little bit. Those 2 hits are just going to be a little bit wider. And it's not that big of a factor, but it's definitely a factor. Now, sighting this in is wholly unique. What you have to do to sight this gun is first you calibrate both barrels, then you calibrate the sights. Now, when you sight in, you can see that there are locking lugs and screws that actually move the barrels independently. One for the left, one for the right. Also locking screws to make sure that those barrels stay put. So the right barrel's point of impact, you test that first, then you adjust it in order to get your perfect impact points, what you want out of this gun. The right barrel adjusts the vertical axis only, and the left barrel's point of impact adjusts in the horizontal axis only. Once you have that locked in with the locking screws, then and only then do you move to your sights and sight in the rifle. Now, Gilboa has a video of how to do this, as well as you can find it in their manual. Now, the question that's on everybody's mind, and that is, what is the practical use of this gun, or is it just to be the cool kid on the range? And I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest. I gotta be real with you. When I first saw this gun, I thought, what is the use of this? This is just for fun. There's nothing wrong with that, but I couldn't really think of a practical use for this gun, to be honest. Full auto exists, so why would you need 2 barrels? But then I really thought about it. And here are 2 things that I thought of. And as I tell you this, before I tell you this, I want you to write down in the comments. I want to hear from you what you think the practical uses of this gun would be, or just the uses in general. Get crazy, have some fun. I actually want to know. And you know, maybe we'll figure out some other stuff together. But I thought of 2 things for this gun for practical uses. One is same hole shooting. It's a lot easier to do a follow-up shot when the gun does it instantly for you. The chances of a shooter in a tactical situation putting 2 rounds in 1 hole are slim. But if it's a gun shooting 2 rounds at the same time, and say that these barrels were adjusted to do so at a certain distance, there's a good potential there. And maybe for barrier penetration, but something like that. But it's the other potential use that I thought of that I'm way more excited about, and it's this. Check this out. So, you got this double magazine. And what can we do with 2 magazines? Load them with different ammos. For example, one with armor-piercing incendiaries, the other side with FMJs or hollow points or whatever you need for the use. And you can alternate depending on the scenario that you're in. And that's an advantage of the civilian version over the military version. The military version is 2 barrels, 1 trigger. This is 2 barrels, 2 independently operating triggers, and that allows you to choose which side you want to use for your ammunition. For now, that's 2 very practical uses for this gun. But when it comes down to it, this gun is truly fun. So if you just want it for that, there's no guilt in that. That's too good. And again, I want to hear from you, so make sure you leave your suggestions down in the comments. This gun presses the boundaries of comfort zones. You go to any gun museum, you see the likes of John Moses Browning and all sorts of other inventors that were pushing the limits and to see what is possible. And this is reminiscent of that. And that's what I like so much about it. So we have a heavy dose of innovation, a dash of practicality, and a big smothering of fun. Thank you so much for joining me. I am honored to be able to share this with you. And until next time, aim true and happy shooting. Oh, and please join us at patreon.com/KirstenJoyWeiss. It helps us keep doing cool stuff like this and spreading shooting, freedom, and fun. All right, we'll see you there. Patreon.com/KirstenJoyWeiss. It's a really good time. And there's a fly on my camera. There's a bug that's down my shirt. Inappropriate. This is an Israeli. This is an Israeli. I can't say it. This is gonna fly away soon.